and welcome to this, the first in my series of videos about the basics of the music business. And this time we're going to look at who you are, artist, composer, or both, and we're going to look at the money go round. In other words, where's the money? We will also start to look at what it will take to actually be doing this yourself, and of course at the end of this video, as with all the others, there will be some useful links for you to check out. So if you're ready, let's make a start. Never forget, it really does pay to know who you are and where your income is. There's a very direct relationship between the work a record label does to promote, market, distribute and make sales, and the mechanical and performing copyrights that these activities generate. Artists make deals with record companies. Composers, on the other hand, make deals with publishers. Record labels spend money, publishers earn it back again. The money go round. So how does the industry work then from the label side? Well, the label spends money on the studio, it spends money on distribution and promotion, and eventually that investment should lead to sales. And of course sales brings money back into the record label, and they share it, hopefully, with the artist. The label is investing in the entire project and therefore has the right of ownership of the recorded material, but not of the composition itself. This is what is known as the master right. So how does it work on the publisher side? Well, the recording needs to be pressed. The promotion could lead to airplay and to concerts, and all of this generates royalty income, which goes through the Copyright Society and is paid to the composer. But labels almost always have a working relationship with the publisher simply because a lot of the work that they do and pay for generates revenue from sources that make payments to copyright owners and administrators. So where does the money come from? Well, a number of sources. There are neighbouring rights, sales, internet, streaming, etc., video performance rights and licenses. We will deal with each of these subjects in later lessons. On the publisher side, things are a bit more complex. There is the performing rights, the mechanical rights, and of course there are sync fees from film and TV. And it's worth noting that while PROs pay directly to both the composer and the publisher, there can be situations where a publisher collects sync fees on behalf of the composer. Making your music available for sync use in film, broadcast and advertising can be erratic, but it's a valuable revenue source. There are plenty of websites out there that will help you do this, and we will look at some of these in a later lesson. It's a common misconception that it's easy these days to record in your own studio and get the result out on SoundCloud and Spotify, etc., and therefore you don't need the services of a label or a publisher. So, why not simply dispense with them? Away with the label. Away with the publisher too. However, it is worth bearing in mind that all of this is now your problem. Publishing and distribution administration can be time-consuming. Time better spent maybe on making your next hit. The main purpose of this course is to show you where your value is and how to exploit it to the fullest extent. Okay, so now you've taken control of all of those revenue sources. Here's rule number 1. Being on Spotify has no value if no one knows you're there. Promotion, marketing and social media exposure are full-time jobs, and there's always a danger that you end up spending more time on promotion than you do on making great music, and that's the foundation of your career. And then of course you're in control of the publishing side as well. Rule number 2. Streaming and download sales only become financially viable really if you're Ed Sheeran or Beyonce. For the rest of us, we also have to focus on the less obvious but ultimately more lucrative sources of revenue such as licensing and rights management. So here's an overview of what we've learned so far. As we can see from this first lesson, the entire music industry is based on the control and administration of the various rights associated with the creation and performance of musical works. It's why record labels, publishers and other media producers get so worked up about copyright abuse. It's their job to protect not only their own investment, but also the rights of the artists and composers they represent. For this reason, we often see copyright warnings at the start of DVD and Blu-ray discs, and why there are so many organisations around the world, Respect Copyrights for example in the US, whose job it is to raise awareness of copyright issues. It is true that the primary function of any copyright society is to protect the rights of its members, both the companies and the individuals, and this of course is where there may well be a conflict of interest. That does not mean that they are not there to help you if you sign a bad contract, but there is an implied responsibility on your part to understand what you are signing, and a copyright society can only really help if a contract actually contravenes local law or is so blatantly unfair as to warrant action on their part. That's not to say that every contract out there is unfair or unjust, but it's worth remembering that a contract should reflect the circumstances in which it will be applied and the intention of the company making the offer. In other words, there really can be no such thing as a standard label or publishing contract, especially in this digital age where business models change with the weather. Everything that we've covered in this first lesson will form the basis of a lot of detailed information that we will refer back to over the rest of the course. It's important to understand that these lessons are intended to give you three things. Firstly, the basic understanding of how the industry functions and generates revenue. Secondly, the information that you will need to do your own research and find the support you will need within your own specific territory. And thirdly, the links that you need to all kinds of services, organisations and support to help you on your way. There are some useful links coming up after this. For everything to do with intellectual property, the World Intellectual Property Organisation would be the place to go. So here are those useful links I promised you. Well, that wraps it up for this first video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you find it useful. In the next video, we'll be looking at the trickier subject of music rights. In the meantime, please like and subscribe. Your support is valuable to us. And you can also find us on patreon.com/Lavender Vale, where there's more exclusive content just for our patrons. Thank you for listening.